people, Deluded. Now, I'm an Arsenal fan, it's nothing to do with me, but you lot know I'm a fan of football, and to be honest, he plays for the national team, which is of interest to not only myself, but hopefully you lot that are living domestically in England, or if you're not, forget it. But Marcus Rashford, Southgate's given some comments in regards to, paraphrasing it, he prefers him more as a winger, and it was interesting for me to hear that, because I do think Rashford's career so far is an interesting one. I do think on one hand he's only 21, 22 years of age. He should be better than what he is, I believe personally. But I think he's a victim of coming through Man United's academy, being compared to Kylian Mbappe, scoring all them goals, what he scored in his Europa League debut, England debut, all them other days. There was this time like he was just scoring in everything, innit? He's a victim of that. He has to deal with this expectation, but I think he's a victim of that ridiculous expectation and comparisons. Maybe Rashford was always meant to be as good as he is now, or only improved slightly. Maybe Rashford is not destined to be a world-class player. I'm not saying he can't, I'm not saying he hasn't got that in his locker. I'm just saying sometimes, and I do it with Arsenal young players, and we do it with young players in general, put ridiculous expectations on them because we're so excited, and sometimes when they don't live up to these projections, or they're not quite where you want them to be, there's a feeling of disappointment, or kind of that they haven't got there. So I feel there's that. I just feel he simply hasn't improved as well and not kicked on as much as expected. I do think he's a victim of short-termism by managers, because he must be a manager's dream. Obviously, he's played up front, but forgive me if I'm wrong, coming through the academy, he wasn't exclusively a striker. He played on the flanks, and he actually played behind in the 10, forgive me if I'm wrong. So he is a creative player. He's obviously got a lot of size to him, he's got long legs and stuff, and that can help you obviously stretch teams, relieve pressure. So he's been a manager's dream under at times. Obviously Van Gaal played him up front, but Van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, that youthful exuberance down the flanks and whatnot. And even for England to a degree with Southgate, he's used him up on the flanks, he's used him up front, he's used him as a second striker. It's great for Rashford, to be fair. I mean, it's great for the team that Rashford can do that, but in terms of his own development and playing up front, he's also been a victim of just not playing up front. I think he needs... With Rashford, it's a thing where it comes down to how good you want to be, and it's the minutes and hours you're putting in off the field. He's adding the free kicks into him, he's getting size, but I think what he needs is, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would be perfect, and it probably is happening already. He needs one-to-one specific coaching with striking, whether that's the movements you make as a striker, just the thinking like a striker, and stuff like that, staying in around the 6-yard box. Because I remember even back to Louis van Gaal's time at United, I swear he said he's working with Rashford about staying in between the 6-yard box, and he has to almost kill him to stay there, to be fair, because he has that youthful exuberance. So I think in terms of positioning and tactically, there's certain things he can do. I think he's, as a young player, he's good, but I think Rashford's not in areas really to affect games at times. I think he drops too deep at times, he goes to the flanks, he drops deep to get onto the ball, which is good, and he's a young player, he's always going to do that, but you're not necessarily getting into areas where you can affect the game. You look at the best players in the league now, that used to be Salah a few years ago, people. Obviously Salah is a bit different, but now he's in effective areas. He's not that just road runner dribbler that he was at Chelsea. He's got that, but he's in decisive areas. Raheem Sterling, less flashy, more goals. Do you get it? So it's about, I think he's got to learn and to anticipate things. I think he's got to learn movement. I think he's got to learn to not get involved in play for the sake of playing people. It's interesting because, I mean, when people are saying you can be Kylian Mbappe levels, people are going to look at you. I have him down as a striker long term. You never know where he ends up. He could revert back to the flanks or in behind, because I think he's got a bit of it all. He is. I think he's been a victim due to managers' demands and the fact that he's young and he'll always play. Like Jose was playing him at one time, week in, week out at a period on the flanks before he started rubbing him out. So I do think he's a victim of that. So let me just type in Marcus Rashford. I want to see how old he is. And on a banter thing, he needs to stop chilling with Lingard as well. And away from this, actually, people, his decision, Rashford's decision making isn't quite there. But he's only 21. Most normal 21-year-olds. If you isolate that and say it's not Marcus Rashford, Man United and England striker, blah blah blah, all of that stuff, you're not going to expect a 21-year-old to be the finished product. I'm sure most sane fans do not expect Marcus Rashford to be the finished product, but they do expect him to be a bit better than he is now. And I think he should, because I think his decision making at times, specifically when it comes to being in front of goal, he's clearly not a natural finisher. I think someone needs to work with him with that, having the clarity of picking the decision and sticking to it. I feel his decision making in the final third, he has his head down a lot. Sometimes just pick out your teammates. So he's only 21 though. These frustrations are going to be there. Yes, he's been in the first team setup at United and England for a while now, and you would expect him to be a bit better, but you can't expect him to be the finished article. Southgate's comments in regards to Rashford said there's a little bit of that, but also a little bit that although we're for a long time. What? Let me start again. There's a little bit of that, but also a little bit that although we for a long time always almost wanted Rashford to be an option as a 9, I'm still not certain that is where he's happiest, and where he does his best work. A lot of his development at United was as a wide raider, inside forward, as a wing, or whatever you want to class it as. And I think he isn't as strong as Harry with his back to goal and holding up play. So if he plays as a 9, he'll play it differently to Kane. But a lot of his best work is in that inside left channel coming off the line. That's probably where Rashford feels a bit comfortable, because obviously when you're a young player, you just want to get into the team. Yes, people have spoken about Rashford's potential, but him and Martial really haven't. There's been a bit of a sticky point in regards to them playing as number 9s and being given the opportunity to develop with there beyond this season, because obviously Lukaku and Alexis and all these guys have left. Yeah, so I do think Rashford struggles with his back to goal, and clearly he does play it to Kane. Kane drops deep and gets involved a lot of the time, but Rashford's play primarily, if he's not on the flanks, is to drop deep and get involved. Then you've got to occupy centre halves. I think Southgate to a degree is selling him short. He has got a bit of size, and there is potential there to improve with his back to goal. But I agree with that. He's not sure if that's where he's happiness, because I think Rashford, I wouldn't say mature a bit, but for want of better words, mature a bit and realise that, okay, cool, there's no point in me dropping deep, because I might look flashy, I might involve that, I might like being involved in that, but at the end of the day, that's not making the difference, innit? That's not making the difference. That's not scoring goals. I think Rashford should look to become a number 9 who primarily stays up there. Sometimes you drop deep and get involved. I'm not saying get that out of your game. Sometimes you drift into wide areas, because I do think Rashford is quite good at times of relieving pressure for his team, just carrying it, people. I think if he can for me, it's really the decision making. If he can learn how to make decisions properly, he could be a top player. And I wasn't planning on doing this, but just to kind of paint the point I want to make to you guys, people. It's not to scale and it's not going to make sense, yeah? But what I feel is, say this guy's over here in possession. I feel Rashford, he gets involved where you don't need to get involved. Sometimes you just got to occupy these centre halves, and it's hard to play with your back to goal. That's one of the toughest things for all young players. But if a player's on the ball here, sometimes you might think the decisive run might be to drop deep so he comes with you and allow someone to take that space, or to make a run off his shoulder, people. Do you get it? Rashford, too often than not, I'm sorry if you can't see, he wants to drop deep and receive it off him, which is good. But once you turn, where are you going, really? Now imagine midfields here and whatnot, people. You're typically Man United at home, where most teams are trying to sit in, peg you in, stay rigid and just frustrate you. It's not going to go anywhere, because I see this with Arsenal players as well at times. You need to receive it in key areas. At times, the players out there, he wants to go out there, he wants to do too much of this, people. He's everywhere, and it's good, but you've got to pick one, because that's going to harm your development, and really it's not threatening the opposition, because again, it's completely different, because Aubameyang was having to do a job against Spurs. But look at them Spurs centre halves. Aubameyang had a good game, and he obviously scored when he went back in what I'd call actually up front through the middle. But you look at that game, he worked for the team, he relieved a lot of pressure for Arsenal, he worked on the flanks. But if you're a Spurs defender, you don't mind Aubameyang putting the crosses in versus being the one on the end of it, because you saw in that game, when he's on the end of it, you don't take 3 points. Do you get it, people? And things like that. So people aren't going to mind Rashford. People are not going to mind Rashford going here and whatnot. I mean, even if he came deep, if the ball's here and he drops deep, and obviously a winger will drop, but there's no winger on this. Let's just say even if the left back covers, a midfielder will sit in and they'll just shuffle across. They don't mind that. Rashford's got to learn how to not get involved, fight the temptation and make smart movements off the ball, similar to Sterling to a degree. And I think people need to stop writing off Rashford, because again, Sterling, not everyone's going to be Sterling. I've always supported Sterling, but Sterling at 21 is not the same clinical Sterling as the 24-year-old turning 25 that's playing right now. Rashford at 24, 25 could get this in his game, so he's only 21. People need to allow him. He does need to improve the older he gets, and I do think he should be better than he is now, but man need to allow him, people, because look at Sterling. Sterling got 7 in 7 for forgive me if I'm wrong for England. Look at his improvement at Manchester City. He's got 75 goals and 65 assists in 170 odd games, people. For Liverpool, in 129 appearances, 23 goals, 10 assists. So there's been a dramatic improvement. Whether you want to put that down to Sterling himself or Pep Guardiola, clearly it's a bit of both. But it is what it is. 17-18 season, Raheem Sterling got 18 goals, 15 assists. Last season, 17 goals, 12 assists. This season, he's got 4 appearances, 5 goals in the league, people. And he's coming into his own. Like I said, he's 25, and Sterling is arguably the best, one of the... You'd have to really fight a case to find a better player within that Premier League playing better than him, or just simply better than him at the moment in terms of application. Sterling might not have the best technical abilities. I'm not underselling him. He's a baller, but he might not have the technical abilities. But he's got the application, people. And no disrespect to them, but you look at Marcus Rashford, you look at Martial, you look at Gabriel Jesus, you look at Sane. These are all players that allegedly have more potential than Raheem Sterling. And many people, if you was to rank them, would actually put these players ahead of them because of their projected high ceiling. But Sterling's got the application, people. So maybe Rashford needs to learn that. Personally, I think Sterling, he's rated because people rate him, but I think in terms of one of the best performing players in the world right now, again, I'm not saying he's the best in the world, but you would be... For the last couple of seasons, it's tough to find them, people. And he's England's best player at this moment in time. And he's one of the best in the world, to be fair with you, if I'm honest. He's not the best, but he's one of the best. And in regards to the Premier League, if it's not Sterling, Sergio Aguero, Mo Salah, players like this, you can't really find the case of finding a better player, people. So I think people really I think Sterling is not underrated because people are recognising he's a baller, but underrated in a sense that it's time to give him all his dues, people. But I've gone left and right. I've tried to add Sterling in here and whatnot, but in short, people, I just feel Rashford could learn to work the firstly, his hold-up play needs to improve, but learn how to work these channels. He's comfortable in this left-hand channel. You always see him here. Sometimes his decision-making isn't the best, but he's got to learn to work these channels. He's got to learn to really exploit areas in that. Say this left-back's gone. He's got to realise, okay, this left-back has left this area. Is this centre-half switched on? Let me make this run. Hit me in behind or hit me over the top. He's got to learn to be in decisive areas, and then past that, he's got to learn about the decision-making. Maybe a lack of sustained games playing as a number 9 in hindsight could be why he's not where he is, or people project where he's projected to be. But who knows, people? It's not for me really to answer. I'm just here to give some talking points. So on that note, I've really got nothing more to add. People, stay safe, deluded, comment, subscribe and do the rest.